You know that this phrase, like the dose makes the poison, like where it's like Spencer Brown has had just, you never heard that? No? Oh, okay.
God, I'm worried about Zach.
No, no, but like a lot
Go
of
on.
times, if you'll see something online, they're like, don't ever have this because it's really bad for you. It like can cause all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, but you use like this much of it every 85 years, whatever. Don't worry about it.
Zach.
Anyways.
I'm never taking a drink from or anything from Jenna again.
No,
Hey, I made cookies,
The
guys.
dose makes
Yeah.
the poison.
Yeah.
Okay, clearly you've
There's
been
the
not been
open.
on. We'll start with this question from Robin.
So there's still a damn good defense.
I have zero problem with them bringing this guy in.
All right, we got the gang all together. Welcome back to the Buffalo Plus channel presented by Connors and Ferris, Mike Catalana, Dan Fates. I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Welcome to the latest edition of You Ask, We Answer, presented by Stellar Roofing, Windows, and Siding. Guys, it's just nice to have the gang all together.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
How you doing?
We are still on baby watch. We've gone to the hospital twice. Baby was sideways, not ready to come out just yet. So we are still on baby watch 2024.
That's nice.
Yeah, we're all expecting.
Despite what Catalana says, there will not be a baby watch 2025.
I don't know, Dan.
You never know.
Renee actually said, she goes, were they talking about having a baby in 2025 on one of the videos?
Yeah, why wouldn't we?
I'm just saying. It's just, I don't know.
Well, we were joking at this clip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I give her credit.
Mahomes is catching me.
We were giving her huge credit because it's the bye week.
Yeah.
Well, we're kind of moving past the bye week.
Yeah, we went from being aware to now just lazy. This kid's already lazy.
Let's
go. We got Bill's season. Come on.
Are you smack talking your unborn daughter?
No, never.
Okay,
gotta learn.
That's it.
So the Bills bye week is over with. They're getting ready to face the 49ers on Sunday Night Football coming up. And we have our first question from Gerald Sorge, 6347. He asks, should Bean consider signing Daniel Jones to the practice squad? Mike, what do you think of that?
I like Daniel Jones. I don't like him as a starter. I think he's got some ability. He has a skill set that is more similar to Josh. And please, you know what I mean. He can move. He can run. He has skill. I mean, look,
he can move.
No, I'm just saying he is a mobile guy. He can run. He has shown the ability to do that. I like him as a backup in the league. I think he's been in a bad circumstance. He was overdrafted. It's tough for guys to come back from that. He was overdrafted and overpaid. There's no question. Yeah. And in New York, he's considered the failure. He deserves a lot of that blame. But I do think he is a guy who can be a backup. I don't think the Bills are going to be interested in a quarterback, but you could do worse. And I've said this, Mitch Trubisky appears by all accounts to be a super nice guy.
Yep.
And Josh loves him. I don't know how much I trust Mitch playing in a game if they needed him for a quarter, a half, or whatever. We will hopefully not have to see. Yeah. I think at some point, Daniel Jones is going to make a good backup and a competent spot starter in the league.
Yeah, I don't want Daniel Jones in Buffalo now because of the narrative that it would create. It would be a story. And I know Daniel says that he wants to go to a contending team. And I know that whether it's the Ravens or something like that, I don't think at this point in the season, you want to have that. I go back to thinking about what Baker Mayfield did. He went and played for the Rams when they had all their injuries and he bounced around to a couple teams. Like, he needs an off season to let all of this die down, because right now the Giants are a laughingstock, but he's a big part of why they are a laughingstock of the league. And I don't think, Jenna, like, you want to bring that into Buffalo right now while they're 9-2 and starting to think about bigger and better things.
Yeah, I think it's an unneeded distraction. They're obviously, like, we might not think that Mitch Trubisky would be the most competent backup, but at the same point, they've obviously thought that he's the guy that's there for that job. He's been back with the team multiple times. So for me, it's like Daniel Jones, I think that he deserves a fresh start. It seems like he's going to get a fresh start. It's not going to be in Buffalo, in my opinion, just because the distraction, what they have behind Josh and the confidence that they have in that. And then also it's just like Daniel Jones, I feel a little bit bad for him because it's not like Yes, he did not play to the standard of expected of a franchise quarterback, but also
Right.
it was the Giants that paid him. Like, who's going to turn down that money?
That's what I'm saying. I don't feel all that bad for him. The guy's doing pretty well.
No, but I would tell you the place that should sign him, and I think they could look for him going forward, is the Miami Dolphins. Miami's got Tua. He's the starter.
Go on.
Tua's playing really well.
Very well.
You have a very creative offensive coach. They do not have strong backups. And I think that team still has a chance to make a run to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you guys, and you do too, I think. I root for Tua. I like the guy. I like what we know of him as a person. I want to see him do well, but he does get hurt a lot. And there would be worse spots for Daniel Jones to go than a place with talented wide receivers, creative offensive coach, and a starting quarterback who's had issues staying on the field. Because look what happened to Miami when Tua wasn't playing. They couldn't move the ball at all.
I just can't get over how clunky though Daniel Jones would look in a Dolphins uniform. Like my brain would just take a second to like calibrate that.
So when Mike was talking about a perfect fit, I thought you were going to say Cowboys because it would also be a perfect fit.
No, because they're a bad team with a coach going to get fired. No, I'm talking about him settling in. Well, Miami's not firing the coach.
No,
he's not going anywhere. And actually,
but he'd be leaving it like he'd feel comfortable in it.
No, he can't go to Dallas. Dallas is a dumpster fire, and the coach is going to get fired there, and it's all going to change. He needs to go somewhere where there's some stability. He could go to the 49ers.
I was going to say San Fran work too.
Yeah. If Purdy is back, like we'll see because we're going to see him this week. But
Indy,
yes,
Indy,
that's a place, but.
That is a place.
But to your question, the question started out with, would the Bills sign him? I don't think there's any interest in it.
I saw on Twitter, which obviously is like a verified, place for all of the correct information. But one of the reports I saw was like Buffalo is one of the first places for Daniel Jones to land. And I was like, really? I just saw that and I was like, I don't see that. So
yeah, it's just that gets, I think with the Bills, everything gets a response now. They're one of those teams, but no.
Are you explaining to me why people would include Buffalo in that?
No, I'm saying is I don't think all I was saying is I don't think any legitimate person has the Bills as one of the places because
off season, different story.
Yeah.
Different story. They have rehabilitated quarterbacks before. I wouldn't be stunned, but when you said you're like I like him as a backup. I liked him as a backup when he was drafted 6th overall. I went, he's going to be a really good backup in the NFL.
Jenna, where were we?
We were in Nashville.
Yeah.
And we were in the press auxiliary tent. And there was like, the New York Giants select Daniel Jones. And everyone in the press room started like laughing. And they were like, what is happening? Like that was then. That was the year the Bills drafted Ed Oliver. So it's been a minute.
Daniel Jones was the guy that most people thought could sneak in at the end of the first round.
Yes.
And they took him, what was it, 6th?
It was like a Penix move.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, man. The Giants, too, with Saquon stuff. It's just
tough.
I have Saquon on my fantasy team. No one cares, I know, but.
Yeah, you think he had a pretty good night?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Matt Hino Music. Could we see another transition with the influx of players coming back from injury? Given how well things have clicked recently on both sides of the ball, I would wonder how subbing in guys like Milano would alter some of the developed chemistry. And
Jenna.
This segues nice into another question from Mark Murphy 558. How quickly should Buffalo integrate Milano back into the starting lineup? San Fran looks beatable without him, but I would love to see him against the Lions. I think there is something to the fact that there's been developed chemistry on this team. And Matt Milano is someone I think that obviously so many fans want to see out there. The potential of what he can be. And then I think I paused because I'm like, he also hasn't played a significant amount of football in quite some time. Had the season-ending injury last year in London, then comes back, then the long-term injury this past training camp. So it's like, I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get in just the football endurance that comes with where this team is at and the fact that you haven't had, live reps or things like that in so long. So I don't think there's a rush to get him back out there. But that being said, I think for this team, like Dorian Williams has played well in moments, and I think there's definitely a way to get him back out on the field and just have something that works for this Buffalo team, because you do have a lot of good grace built up, especially with Dorian Williams and like what he's been able to add, that I think it's such a benefit to have him and know you can rely on him, and then also know you're going to get Milano too.
I think to that point where you're talking about chemistry and things like that, I think you do want to rebuild that chemistry that you had with Milano and Bernard. Like we saw what that can be, and they haven't had that for a while. I don't think this injury is like ramping up Von Miller, though, because this isn't. And Sean has talked about the fact of he's been able to do more conditioning. He's been able to do more around the team rather than when it was a broken leg getting ready compared to what it is with the pec. So I think he is going to be closer, Jenna, to a live rep football endurance, because I don't think you have to ramp him up like conditioning wise as much as you would with an ACL injury, something like that, where he hasn't been able to do anything. And I don't know why are you laughing at me?
No, I just every time an ACL, I think of an oil change, and it makes me
we all have bad takes.
But that being said, that being said, I could see them kind of slow playing Milano coming back because it has been a while. And I totally hear what you're saying of like, yes, the injury was different in the way it was structured, but he still has missed a lot of football. So there's something to just throwing him out there and trial by fire, but also with where the season is and where the schedule is right now, they're going to have to activate him off that 21-day window. But will he be immediately out there? Will he be on a pitch count? I could see the Bills, because of Dorian Williams and what he's been able to do, having an element of that in there as well.
I'm very proud of myself.
You didn't interrupt,
to Jenna.
Yeah, you didn't interrupt once.
Didn't interrupt once. You guys made a lot of the takes that I was going to say, and Jenna just brought up the pitch count. To your point about ramping up from a conditioning case, he still needs to be football ramped up. This dude has played like 6 games in 2 years. He has not had a lot of football, like actually playing. I think he's like Trey White. I think they get him out for limited snaps, and I think it's going to be Sunday. I'd be very surprised if it's not Sunday.
I agree.
And to the caller's part, to the person who commented and said the question, yes, you want to get him ready for Detroit. It's great. I want to see him on the field before we get to Detroit. I think if he's good, and you made the point, Jenna, they opened up the window. They could have waited on that. They opened it up 21 days. I think it's coming out of the bye. I think they get him ramped up. I don't know what this pitch count would be, but it's pretty easy to do. And I also believe no matter how he comes in, I think there's a role for both of them with Bernard. Like they will be able to use them both. And find ways at times, depending on who they're playing against. I mean, I think definitely Dorian Williams deserves to be on the field. But if Matt Milano is close to Matt Milano, he's going to be out there with Terrell Bernard when the games really, really matter the most, with a role for Dorian Williams.
And like I said, I remember.
This is a different question. This is a different question. So you finish on this point.
The Trey White thing was what I was also thinking, because Trey would play a series, then not play a series. But I just don't know how cohesive that is. I know defense, it's easier because you are subbing packages and guys in and out of plays and series. I think I'd be surprised if he played less than 50% of the snaps on Sunday against the Niners.
Could be. Like, it depends on where they are. Plus, he's playing. It's just like it's Trey White. It's Matt Milano, knows the defense. He's been around, and they've made that point. And he's Matt Milano. If he's ready, when he's really ready, he's going to be starting, and he's going to be playing next to Bernard.
How long do you think it will take for Matt Milano to play like Matt Milano?
Playoffs.
To be really ready. You're going to see flashes of it.
Just like we saw at training camp. I know some people were like, oh, I don't know about how he looked training camp. I still saw him covering Curtis Samuel out of the flat and James Cook out of the backfield at times. And I went like, that's the Matt Milano that we know that very few players can cover running backs, tight ends, slot wide receivers when called upon. Few people can do that.
I didn't think he looked great at camp, and I told you that.
And I disagreed with you.
And I was probably right.
We'll never know.
I thought he looked just a little hesitant coming off that leg, and there were flashes.
but he looks better. His leg, from the reps that we have seen him do at practice, his legs gotten
well, he's gotten way more time now.
That's what I'm saying.
More time.
We're another 3 months plus. So,
man, he's got to be so anxious to get on the field.
Oh my God. He's probably just like, let's just rip off the Band-Aid and
let me go.
I want to just be back with my teammates. Okay. Free House 11. Do you think we'll have Smoot back for a playoff run? Remember, IR for the wrist injury.
I think they believe that is the case. I mean, we still have, how long has he been out? He's been out probably,
I don't know. I'm going to double check that.
I think it'll be 3 weeks since he got hurt. I'm seeing him at a home game walking off the field.
Yes, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Who's the injury against, Jenna?
I can see him going off the field
because it was after.
No, don't mind me.
It was after the Dwayne.
And
Carter
also
one.
Dwayne Carter.
Yeah,
that would be another one to get back.
Yeah.
I think they believe that those guys are coming back. Certainly, I think
Miami.
They think Smoot is.
Was that Miami?
It could have been Miami.
Could have been Miami.
Somebody made a play. You were Were you shooting?
Somebody
and
else
you
made
went
a
off
play
of it and got
he
Smoot.
ran off the field.
Yeah, in pain. So, he had surgery, right? So there's usually it feels like, I don't know why, like I'm a doctor. I got a communications degree. Like it's like 6 weeks.
Like an oil change?
Yes. Well, that's way more of an oil change than ACL. But it feels like 6 weeks. Doesn't that seem like, it's like a wrist surgery, 6 weeks. He's back. So I've just predicted 3 more weeks and he's back. How's
Perfect.
That?
There you go.
Thank you. That'll be $380.
Yeah, we've never had one of these. We've never had a bad take about an injury.
No,
coming
never.
back from one.
Never on this channel.
Not on this channel.
Richard Nash, 6256. Should the Bills think about starting Ryan Vandemark over Spencer Brown? I understand Brown helps in the run game, but Vandemark plays a cleaner game, less holding, and false start penalties.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
So listen, I just posted on X and on Blue Sky like a post of the Khalil Shakir screenplay that went for 30 plus yards in the Colts game that kind of solidified and salted that game away. And Vandemark makes an amazing play, getting down the field, pancaking a linebacker, all of those things. I also know that he took 74 snaps against the Chiefs and didn't allow a single pressure. Like all of those things are great. Like let's not tarnish Spencer Brown. Like let's put some respect on Spencer Brown's name too for how good he has played this year. Holding false starts aside, I'll live with a little bit of that low because the ceiling is so much higher with Spencer Brown.
Yeah, I agree. I think for sometimes, that this phrase, like the dose makes the poison, like where it's like Spencer Brown has had you never heard that? No? Oh, okay.
God, I'm worried about Zach.
No, but like a lot of times, if you'll see something online, they're like, don't ever have this because it's really bad for you. It like can cause all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, but you use like this much of it every 85 years, whatever. Don't worry about it. Anyways.
I'm never taking a drink from or anything from Jenna again.
No,
hey, I made cookies, guys.
The dose makes the poison.
Yeah.
Okay. Clearly
there's the open.
Not been on TikTok, but okay.
Nope.
So essentially, like Spencer Brown has just had so many more opportunities for there to be those holdings and those false starts, penalties, all that stuff, because he's just had so much more time on the field. And while Ryan Vandemark did an excellent job in his play against the Chiefs, it's also the fact that he's just had a smaller sample size. And I think you see the ceiling that you have with Spencer Brown. I get it why fans are excited about Ryan Vandemark, but they believe in Spencer Brown for a reason, and he's been playing at a very high level this season. So you take some of those false starts and those other penalties because you know what you're getting from Spencer Brown.
And isn't it something? The Bills are playing with 2 very good tackles and a third who looks like he can really hold up and play well.
Yeah.
There's so many teams in this league who barely have 1 good tackle, let alone 2.
Correct.
And teams just attack and attack and attack when it's a bad player on the edge. And the Bills are fortunate.
And like I said, I think Vandemark has done a phenomenal job, but I also will compare it a little bit to the pinch hitter.
Yeah.
In baseball, they get hot for a week, they hit a couple home runs, and you're like, maybe this guy could start. And maybe Ryan Vandemark develops into a starter for either Buffalo or a team down the road because he's putting that on tape.
Yep.
But I would just tread a little bit carefully with a small sample size to thinking about taking out Spencer Brown, a guy that you just gave a massive, a good size extension to of that you're solidifying your future.
Yeah. Also, the dose makes the poison is absolutely a thing. So
Okay.
I
We'll just
promise you that it is. Okay.
clip this for the authorities.
No, it's so bad.
That's
Okay.
like on on NBC.
Dateline?
Dateline.
Oh my God,
They're like,
no.
they went back to her podcast.
No.
She had a clip on Buffalo Plus. Like, comment,
No.
subscribe.
The
It's so
dose.
terrible. No, it's like with like skincare stuff.
Yeah,
like,
we
it's
know.
like-
Yes.
Yeah,
we
totally,
got you.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, skincare.
Okay. You guys are annoying. Okay. At Alex XOOL. Do you feel teams? Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Let's go to this one. Mr. Ghostface 85. With all the young talent on the team, who would you rank as the biggest priority to extend? And who would you let test free agency or outright walk in free agency?
Christian Bedford. You sign Christian Bedford as soon as possible.
Yeah. I was
Who are
going
you
to
going to
say,
go with?
well, I was going to say Rousseau, but you do have the advantage if he has the 5th-year option already done. So that's a plus. Like you have him on the deal. Yes. I think there's players you want to extend. Terrell Bernard, Christian Benford, Greg Rousseau. But Benford could, when his free agency is there, he can walk and he's a corner. I think he's the priority over Rasul Douglas, as good of a player as I think Douglas has been.
Agreed.
Douglas may still want to test the market. Not that they want to let him go, but he may be the player that they let test and see what's out there. And then he makes a decision based on age and based on how well they can coach up corners and coach up defensive backs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I think Rousseau is a priority because you need pass rushers. But I think being a first-round pick is a big advantage for the Bills there because they already have him on the deal and they can work that out together. But Benford's really good.
Yeah, he's earned it. He's earned it. There's no question.
Yeah. Reed Ferguson, free agent in 2025.
He'll be back.
Yeah.
Longest tenured Bill.
Especially with some of the disasters going on in special teams. It is
long
wild.
snappers are football players too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Washington Commanders, that snap was off. They missed an extra point.
Nobody's choking out Reed Ferguson.
That game was wild.
Yes. Crazy game. Just so poorly played. Just such a mess. But that's the way it goes.
I got a question too. It's from Jackson Kelly. He sent it last week. I didn't get it till just now. He said, do you think the Bills currently have the best combination of OC and DC under the Sean McDermott era? Jenna, your thoughts?
I mean, obviously, Brian Dable did a whole bunch for Josh Allen in his development and the player that he became. But I think while I love Leslie Frazier, I think there were some defensive breakdowns that were apparent throughout the season. So I would say, that Joe Brady, there's still room for improvement, but I think you see the combination of trust and the creativity. And for Bobby Babich, it's still early on in his career, and I'm curious how the playoffs will go and what that will look like. But I think that they've done a really good job with a lot of guys that we really didn't expect to see play to the level that we've been seeing. So I am very pleasantly and not surprised, but I am impressed by what we've seen from Joe Brady and Bobby Babich, especially with Sean McDermott, what he's been able to do with Babich. So it's probably recency bias, but I am a fan. And I think that I love Leslie Frazier though. But, I mean, Brian Dable was phenomenal when he was here in Buffalo.
You go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Dable was in a totally different place. He was developing Josh. Phenomenal. Joe Brady got the finished product, has done a very good job with that product. So that's why I think it's a little different. And I also think Bobby Babich is...
What?
Take the shot.
Yeah, but it's the combo.
No, you're right. And Bobby Babich is also the beneficiary of Sean McDermott learning how to trust the guy.
100%.
and Leslie was great. And they were doing it. And Sean always had his hand on the scale there a little bit. I think he is now.
Go off, King.
Sean is more comfortable in his role and still is involved. But I think he's a little more in sync with Bobby in that way. So I think if this was these two guys 5 years ago, I don't think it would remotely have been the right guys for a young Josh Allen.
Correct.
And a head coach who isn't really ready to let go of the reins a little bit to the point of right now for this team, where the quarterback is, where Sean McDermott is, fantastic. They needed those other guys at that time.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a cop-out.
I was going to say, but the question is this the best?
Okay, it's not.
I would say the best they had was Leslie and Daboll.
I agree 100%. And Jenna, I understand your point of also being like it's a little bit of recency bias, because that's obviously I think there right now you are so optimistic about what the future could be with Brady and with Babbage, and you can see them being potential head coaches in the future. Like that's a great thing to have, but you had somebody, Brian Daboll, who had gone through it, who was at the top of his game as play calling. That's why he got a head coaching job. Stop the conversation there. We can talk about that another time. And you also had Leslie Frazier, who, yes, you look at the playoff missteps, and I get that. They were still a top 5 defense with Lorenzo Alexander and some other guys. That gets lost in the mix a little bit because of some of Sean's missteps that he had at end of games and things like that. But you had a proven defensive coordinator that is deserved to be a head coach. You had another OC that did become a head coach. Daboll and Frazier were top tier coordinators.
Yeah.
And you hope that Babbage and them turn into that. This is one of those cases where I'm not trying to knock Babbage and Brady by complimenting Daboll and Frazier, but it's just those guys were at different points. The team was at different points, but those guys, it's getting lost a little bit of how good they were because you had trouble in between.
You can make the case, and I don't disagree that this is the best. I'm not saying that because I'm looking at the 2024 Bills. These are the right type of coaches at the right time in their careers.
Pioneers, they're the front. They're changing the system. Like they're pushing the system forward from what it was.
But at the time when those other guys were there, it's 1,000% what Sean McDermott needed and what Josh Allen needed.
Absolutely.
Yes. I think Brian Daboll now needed to be a head coach. And like you said, it's not working out. It's not really working out at all.
So phenomenal.
It's all right, sweet prince.
But
okay.
But at this time, Joe Brady, and that's where Joe Brady is it's not just a different voice because it wasn't working out with Dorsey. It was the wrong.
It didn't work out. If only somebody.
No, he's just, he was right about Dorsey.
That's fair.
So
he was wrong about an oil change.
Yes. But
wrong about a lot of things.
I would say if you want to say this is the best, it is because right now this is the best they should have. These two guys fit 1,000% with this group of team.
You can see that this can get better because of the future. Like you knew Leslie for what he was, and kind of you were at their ceiling with them. You think I believe Joe Brady's going to get better. I believe Bobby Babbage is going to get better. We could have this conversation again in 2 or 3 years, and we may have a different answer. But a little bit of that recency bias of, hey, these guys are really good right now. But
I also think it's the 2020 of knowing what happens and how in big moments there are failures. In big moments there are failures and stuff like that. But it is funny and interesting to think about, if you had these coordinators back when Josh was a rookie. I agree. I think especially Brian Daboll was exactly who Josh Allen needed. And to see now Brady getting that finished product in Allen and what he's been able to do with that, I think it is an interesting thought point of wow, what would that have been like? And would Josh Allen be the Josh Allen that we all know him to be? So it really puts into perspective how much a player matters, but also the coaching that goes in behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, Brady gives off some Daboll vibes.
Yeah.
Their connection, their relationship. I always love when Orlovsky talks about it, like the quarterback and the coordinator. It's a marriage. You're not dating. Like you guys are in it. So the fights that you have and the trust that Josh now has, and again, different time in careers, but like him calling plays, like, hey, I want this play, and him being like, yep, we're going with that. Like that was the stuff that was happening with Dable. That was that synchronicity, syncrasy that they had.
And at the beginning, Dable screaming at him.
Yep.
And eventually it became
and his fat face
where he threw a perfect game against the Patriots and the incredible game in Kansas City. So he took him to that peak, which helped Brian Dable obviously get a head coaching job. So
I think Bobby Babich has done a hell of a job too for this being his first year. Like, I think it's really nice. And he's mentioned how much having Sean McDermott as a mentor, how much that has meant. I also think it's great that like McDermott was doing that job last year as well. Like he was, as a head coach, I think sometimes people forget how much of an overview it kind of is of everything, even though McDermott is involved in every process, but him being the defensive coordinator last year and kind of getting those reps once again, I think has really been beneficial to Bobby Babich.
I've tweeted this a couple of times of the division winners in the NFL, and it was Chris Long who brought it up. I don't know if he got it from somebody else. There's only one guy of all the division leaders that calls plays, and that's Andy Reid.
Yeah.
No one of the division winners calls plays on offense or defense. Doesn't mean they're not involved.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a different, and I think it's been way better for Sean McDermott to not be calling plays with a guy he trusts as his DC.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's worked out well. You know, Chris Long had a great line. I was watching his live yesterday. He's
great pod.
Green Lights podcast is phenomenal, but he talked about the Chiefs always flying so close to the sun.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the perfect way to put it. And it's like, obviously they won against the Panthers yesterday, had the kickoff or the field goal at the end to win it and the buzzer, but it's a team that likes to play with their food.
Icarus,
did you see somebody? Obviously, I had tweeted as the Panthers were driving down the field to not only score but get the 2-point conversion. I said, "This is who the Chiefs are." I didn't say they're a bad team.
No.
And some guy, big Chiefs fan, and his handle is the Dirt Turd, said, you know, you guys all have blowouts and this and things like that. And it was just that thought of like, this is who the Chiefs are, where they do fly too close. I'm not saying they're a bad team, but I always thought, and I've said here plenty of times, I thought their defense was elite. I thought their defense was top tier and that their offense would figure it out because it's Patrick Mahomes and he always figures it out. And when Shady was talking about it on the pod, great pod, if you haven't listened to that, him being like, it's almost inevitable. You know what this is with Patrick Mahomes. If their defense is giving up 30 points, I don't know if they're scoring 33 every week against better defenses than Carolina. The Carolina Panthers scored on 75% of their drives.
And they failed, and they got in the red zone a lot.
Yeah.
And
then
Bryce
they were the
Young
Panthers.
is just starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
I watched that game yesterday. I felt like the Chiefs were going to win because they do win these games. But absolutely, Carolina competed with them. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't like crazy turnovers and all this stuff. They played. Kansas City finds a way, but that was a little surprising. They didn't convert. They couldn't get that drive to put them away, and then they let them go down the field and tie the game.
Again, the Bills scored 30 points to them for the first time since week 4 of 2022. And then the defense gets gashed, giving up scoring drives on 75% of the drives, which is something hasn't been done. Like maybe only like 3 teams or something like that, Chris Long was saying. So there are cracks in that defense, and that offense isn't good enough if the defense is mediocre.
Jenna, but I will give them, it was the Panthers. Like, it's the kind of game they took them a little bit for granted. You could tell they were not the Chiefs.
I mean, they get everyone's best,
and they were not. They're usually pretty focused. They were not that way yesterday. They were losing on the line of scrimmage. Like, it was a bad game for them, and they still were up 2 scores, and they ended up pulling it out. They'll play better, and they'll get their guys back, but there are some cracks there. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. It was just like, it was inevitable that they won, and you know, last year in the playoffs, they flipped a switch, so that could also be the case. But I was pretty surprised by. It was a loss. It was a game that was a win, but felt like a loss.
Correct.
But
would have been
they
big
looked
if it
very
was a loss for the Bills.
It looked very pedestrian by them, which we're not used to seeing.
Which is kind of how they've looked most of the season.
I know, but it's like
I know.
it's, like I get it.
Hey, they
being
have some
like,
real
well,
tests
actually,
closing out. They got some real tests closing out the year.
They have the
So-
Raiders this week and
Yeah.
then Chargers, which would be a good game. Browns, who cares?
Don't they have the Chargers twice?
No, they have Raiders, Chargers, Browns, Texans,
Oh, Texans.
Steelers,
Steelers.
Broncos.
Texans.
And Steelers and Broncos are both on the road. So let's see. For the Bills. Hey, the Bills have quite a stretch here. Niners, Ravens,
no, Rams.
Rams, excuse me. Rams,
yeah.
and then Lions.
That Rams team cannot block anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, last night.
My guy, Brandon Graham. Torn bicep, season's over. He's the best. He is an awesome dude. One of those guys, he's a talker, nonstop.
Eagles are a wagon right now.
Yeah. And he was, if that's his last game,
Sirianni guy.
go Birds.
Go.
If that was his last game, Brandon Graham, man, went out like a freaking baller.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in the league. He's played the most games, I think, of any Eagle, or
That Eagles O-line is just pancaking everybody.
I think Saquon just scored again.
Oh, great.
Anyhow.
I think I beat Beauvais in fantasy.
Oh, nice.
Because Saquon.
Credit to
led
you.
the way.
He's always talking about her fantasy team.
Yeah, nobody
Started out
cares.
with it.
Nobody
Yeah.
cares. Nobody cares.
Just
I know.
they care who you poison.
That is a
Yeah,
phrase.
okay.
Yeah,
Whatever.
Phrase.
Just remember that, listeners. Like, comment, subscribe.
No, it is.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Dan's still on baby watch, but we appreciate you coming on the pod. For Mike Catalana and Dan, I'm Jenna Cottrell. Thank you for watching You Ask, We Answer, presented by Stellar Roofing, Windows, and Siding. And thank you for watching the Buffalo Plus channel, presented by Connors and Paris. We appreciate it. Woo. We'll start with this question from Robin.
So there's still a damn good defense.
I have zero problem with them bringing this guy in.